Well, I don't see the point in waiting any longer. So let's bring her out. The star attraction, the one you came to see. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Miss Judy Gold.
Ladies and what?
We're moving.
I can't take this show anymore, people. Can we talk? Can we just talk about
moving downtown?
Did I start the show? It's my show. You don't get to talk first.
Oh, you were looking right at me.
I wasn't. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited. I've been trying to get this woman on this fucking show for a very long time. Let me just say, I'm going to open with the kill me now moment. I got no fucking sleep last night, the night before, and the night before. And I'm doing all this shit like I'm not looking at my phone. All right, I did look at my phone a little bit because I was reading an article. Okay, I have my book in my bed. Like I have my book and my reading classes, right?
Okay.
So like I'm trying to really do the no electronics, go to bed. I couldn't and then I had teach class this morning. I can't take it. There's no sleeping. And then I woke up screaming and crying.
Yeah, I think that's an uncomfortable period that you have to go through because that's what like relearning a habit is. I'm learning about relearning habits right now.
You know what? I'm older than you. You don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
You definitely know more than me.
I can't take it. I just can't. I cannot function on no sleep. I cannot function on no fucking sleep. Anyway, I've had no sleep, but I'm so excited.
You seem to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, because I swear to God, only because I saw this person's face. Yeah. Otherwise, I was a miserable piece of shit. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is the one, the only, Yamaneika Saunders! Woo! Yes, right, you motherfucker. Yamaneika, yes. I've been trying to fucking get you on.
And here's the thing. Every time something comes up, because I'm no millionaire in this business, I have to hustle like a prostitute.
Hello.
And I have to say yes to whatever. But the funniest thing I'll ever say about us trying to connect on this is Judy tried to book me again, and I said, Judy, my grandmother died. And Judy said, when can you come in? When can you come in?
I didn't.
I said, Judy, my grandmother died. The next day was like, so next week?
No, I said I would.
You do say funny shit like that when people die.
Right. But then what did I say?
You were very sweet. Yeah. You okay. But let me have my moment. Shit.
No, but I
had what the moment you had? You had a Me Too moment you came in with?
I said I'm getting my phone.
Don't tell me you saved text messages. My grandmother died a month and a half ago.
Ready? I'm just going to go on our little... Okay, ready? Here's the thing. I'm going to read you, everyone.
And don't skip past the good stuff.
Yamaneika. Okay, ready?
Yeah. And I'm very loving when I text.
Listen to this. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Can you do the 24th? This was in October.
Yes.
This is on October 15th. No response.
My grandmother...
Wait! I'm doing me and you! Monday, October 16th. I will not be ignored. Then, sorry, my grandma died 2 days ago and I've been inundated with texts.
Yes.
I'm not sure about 24th yet. Not sure how I will feel. I'm experiencing some depression. Depressing lows at times. My grandma raised me like she was my mom. Okay. Yeah. Want to hear my response? I am so sorry. I know how you feel. I lost my mom 2 years ago. If you ever need to talk, I'm here. Seriously, I suffer from depression. I've experienced lots of loss. XOXOX, you'll be okay. Promise.
How about the 29th?
No.
What was the next thing you said after that?
And then you said, thank you. I probably will take you up on that offer. I'm so sorry about your mom. I'm sending you so much love right now. And yes. I wrote, your grandma will always be with you. And you wrote, I pray. And I wrote, you will get signs. And you wrote XOOX. Okay? And then 2 weeks later, I wrote, I'm checking in. And are you around next week?
I want to know what the date is. That's 2 weeks. How did you calculate
Wednesday, November 1st. Okay. So you have selective memory, Yamaneika. Okay?
Is this what you do? You bring your guest on here?
No.
To diminish the integrity with your audience.
No, I'm just letting you know. I don't want them to think I'm like an unfeeling.
No. I think you have a lot of. I think you feel the most.
Yeah, no, please. It's sad.
I think you're like skin off, just wind hitting like open wounds.
Raw nerve. How are you doing though since your grandmother died?
I'm waiting for a crazy moment to happen because I didn't have a crazy moment. When my mother called me and said that she had passed, I was finishing up taping a show that is airing on VH1, hopefully in January. I can't tell you about it because they haven't put out the freaking commercials.
Right.
But I was like, this could not have come at the worst time because how can I work? I had to get up at, I had a 5:30 call and I had to get up at 4, and I told my mother about that. So when she called me at 3:59, I was like, first of all, you get up, you get mad because you're like, damn, I had one more minute.
One fucking minute.
I'm like, is she? And I'm
in the morning.
Yeah,
she called you at 3:59,
and I thought she was calling me to like
wake you
it was
up.
either with 3:59 or 4:59, but it was one like on the 59,
right?
And I was like, what? I'm like, Ma, and the first thing I said, Ma, I'm up. I'm like, I got it. I was trying to have this minute to myself. And then she didn't, normally my mother and I fuss, right? I know you got it. Well, you get up, I'm going to call you again. And she wasn't fussing. She didn't fuss like that. And I was like, hello, Mom. And then she said, Grandma's gone.
Oh. And then it hits you like a fucking ton of bricks.
I screamed so loud.
Right.
And
were you expecting it?
She was in the hospital for 4 months. Prior to that,
right? For what?
She wasn't active for almost 4 months.
Right.
She had gone into a coma. My grandmother had strokes, which I think people should really investigate. You cannot. You have to go have somebody look at you to determine you've had many strokes. So my grandmother's had like 6-7 mini strokes.
Right.
Then it starts to deteriorate the brain, and we started noticing that she wasn't connecting with certain things. And then she went into the hospital. They said she had pneumonia.
Right.
And she was already wheelchair bound from a hip thing.
Right.
She had brain surgery months before that, and she never got out of the hospital. They had to put her on a breathing tube. She hadn't eaten the whole time, and we were very concerned about that. They had to feed her through a tube, and then she had a feeding tube. They put the trach in, they put a stomach tube, and it was like, and I was, every time I had a break, and I didn't have any breaks, I would be canceling stuff, and I would go to Maryland, and then they moved to DC. I'm not DC, to Delaware, and I would, maybe $10,000 almost in rental cars and keeping them for 5 days and canceling stuff, and I can't, and sleeping in a hospital with her. I know how to navigate in a bathroom, and brush my teeth and pull my hair up and not touch the floor somehow and not get my clothes because I did that for a long time, and she wasn't there, and I would massage her and touch her, and then it got to the point where we had to like put on things. We couldn't touch her because we didn't want us to get her contaminated and vice versa. So it was a lot of like, maybe her eyes looked up, maybe and then I was Skype.
I have to tell you, my father was in a coma. They totally know you're there. They totally, absolutely, because my father was in a coma he had a massive heart attack, and then they revived him at the pool he was swimming, and then my sister would not go in the room because it's all about her. And no, she wouldn't go in the room because of the sound of the machine, of the life support machine.
Yes.
Was like, I can't. She was like, I can't. And then finally they unplugged him, and I was like, Jane, and he was supposed to die within 20 minutes. And it took 23 hours, and he didn't die until she came back in the room.
Wow.
So it's like, we were all there when he took his last breath, but definitely they know. They can so hear you.
Yeah.
So you had those 4 months.
Yeah, I felt that she was connecting with me. And my grandmother, not to discount my mother, and this is what I even said at my grandmother's funeral. My mother was obviously my mother, and I love my mother. My mother and I are very close. But my grandmother was like
your mother.
My mother too. So I had 2 mothers, right?
So you're a child of lesbians.
pretty much.
Yamaneika has 2 mommies.
But no, because then that goes into incest.
Right? Yeah.
No, I'm just carrying it on.
Why are you picking your face again?
I am actually breaking out a lot more.
All right, whatever. Go.
You should be sponsored by Proactive at this point.
Yeah.
I'm all about getting the money.
Yeah.
I said, you know what I said? I said I was born and raised in Maryland, so I have a little bit of Jewish in me, and I'm always clocking that coin.
And what about
Where's
the
that?
burger cookies? Oh. What about the burger
What is this,
cookies?
a Jewish button?
Yeah, Jew bell. What about the...
What?
Yeah, anything remotely Jewish, we bring the bell. What about the burger cookies?
What burger cookies?
Oh my God, the burger cookies, they're only in Maryland. They're in Baltimore. They're these fucking cookies that are like so good. It's like cake and then like fudge on top. It's so fucking. Oh, I'm getting you a burger cookie.
I'm born and raised in Maryland. Never heard burger cookie.
Oh my God! It's like a big.
I should text my. I have to ask my mother. Would know.
Ask your mother.
You
My mother
probably
would
call
know.
them something else, like
Jew cookies.
Doodle fruits.
Well, you know,
or
we have a
something.
thing. There's a couple of things that go on in Maryland that are very racist that people
Right.
don't know.
Like what?
Pollock Johnny's.
Is that
that's
a
old
place?
school. That is old
yeah,
school.
that's the hot dog spot. We always go to Pollock Johnny's.
Oh my God.
Is that the name of it?
Pollock Johnny's, yeah. That's the name of it.
Hey, let's go down to
Is it
Pollock
good?
Johnny's.
Well, first of all, Polish people are not into hot dogs. What the fuck
They're
is
into
that?
sausage.
And then it's salt. Yeah, it's a salt, like a
Oh,
sausage.
all right. It's like kielbasa.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Pollock Johnny's.
Let me just say this because
Yeah,
I want
okay.
to. I want to close this part up, and then we can get into happier times. When I went to my grandmother's funeral, and I
Yeah.
told my grandmother and my grandfather, I said, I cannot see you. I'm not going to be able to view you in these casket situations. And my grandmother was a big fan of funerals.
Right.
She would take
Like,
pictures.
what'd she like about 'em?
She'd take pictures of the people in the caskets and keep them and all this other stuff. It
Yeah.
was like crazy.
She had a
Collect
morbid-
obituaries, like people collect sports cards and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. Baseball cards. She's trading obituaries.
That's
Well, this
hilarious.
Miss Pearl,
Right.
and she look at all the casket was so nice, it was pink. And I said, where they get the line in that? My grandmother's the type of person that would have been at a funeral and be digging all into the
Right.
casket, like, what kind of material? Who did this funeral? You got a business card? Give me one of them fans. You know, like
funny.
that's how she was,
Right.
and moving people around. Like there's been funerals where they were like, please don't touch the body, because she's like
Right.
moving pearls around and
What was
straightening
her
hair.
name?
Charlena.
Charlena.
Yeah.
Keep
So-
Charlena away from the body, please.
Yeah.
Charlena.
Well, here's her name. Her name is Charlene. It's really Charlena, but people called her Charlene because they didn't know, because her father's
Right.
name is Charlie, so it's
Oh, so
Charlena.
she was named Charlena.
Yeah, but people always
Keep
said
Charlena away from the
Charlena
body.
Yeah,
or
yeah. Makes
Charlene.
sense.
Right.
But started calling her pastor because my grandmother,
I know.
my
I
grandfather,
can't
yeah.
wait to get to that.
Pastor,
Yeah.
we call her pastor and all of that. And so, which was very confusing in the hospital because when they would try to they would constantly, and I got into so many fights in that hospital. I'm telling you right now, I was on top of them like a werewolf, and they would be pinching her. I was like, stop doing that to her. I let me get her. I'll try to get her. And they'd be,
Why?
they bang hard because they're trying, they would put her under so much.
Right,
that they
right.
would try to, they would be pounding on her to get her out. And it's like, that's the worst thing. And they don't have any care, which is why I was like, God bless my mother. My mother is taking care of my aunt. My grandmother had German measles when she was carrying her. My aunt has hearing impairment and disabilities and all this stuff. And but very blessed, and
Right.
but she needs care. My grandfather's in a
married?
wheelchair. No, she's never been able to live on her own. Like
Ugh,
it's a
that
whole. We have to
sucks.
take care. And my
Yeah.
mother's taking care of all of this, going up to the hospital, which is why it was so important for me
Right.
to go there
Right.
and relieve her. And so when I'm there, I'm like, I will knock you out,
Right.
because they're only and I want to say this to your listeners. Be very careful when you have your family in the hospital. Don't let them bully you
Yeah.
and make you feel like, because they would come in. My grandmother was so thin by the time everything was happening, they couldn't get any blood from her.
Right.
And they're only supposed to go in and try 2 times.
Right.
And what they were doing on us, and they thought I didn't know it, is one person would come in to get the blood, and then they couldn't get, and they would double up and go, oh, you're getting blood? Well, let me try. And I'm like, no. And I said, get the head nurse in here, because
Right.
is it 2 times per whoever
Right.
comes in, or is it 2 times for this period of
Total,
time,
yeah.
so that you're not beating her down and all
Right.
this other stuff and plugging her and this and that.
And what'd they say?
No, they corrected it, because they were like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, because I'm watching you.
You fucking assholes.
It's scary to like that I don't have any kids and I'm not married, because I'm like, when I get in that position, who's going to be my advocate? We were my grandmother's advocate, And
Well, I have my best friend Bob has ALS. He's Lou Gehrig's, and he's in a bed, and he can't talk, he can't move, and I'm in there. I'm always saying shit. I go down there all the time.
you have to let
It's
them
like,
know
you're not,
that
you're
somebody's
not
there.
fucking, just because he can't say,
Right.
you're not fucking treating him like shit, you fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm ever in the hospital, I'm inviting both of you.
Oh, you got to get me down there for sure. I never got to see my grandmother laid out. I didn't want to see her.
Yeah.
Do you know that's a Jewish thing?
But here's the thing. You guys put your babies in real quick. The bodies go in real quick.
Well, you're supposed to remember them as they were when they were alive.
Right.
So you're supposed to do it within 24
hours. My grandmother did a tour.
Don't.
Do you understand? She did a tour.
She did a
She did a tour.
Did she plan her own funeral?
Well, no, it was like when she passed and everybody's like, well, we got to make the schedule for this and we got to get here for that and this and that. My grandmother was in there. I was like, she's going to be a popsicle. It's like for 2 weeks now and we're trying to do it. And it was
How long did it take?
It was like my mother wanted it to be nice. And I think family didn't understand. We wanted it to be nice for her. My grandmother was a beautiful woman. She was very particular about her look. And she always said, keep yourself together. We didn't want to just throw her out there like anything. And she had already been sick. And my mother said she looked very beautiful. I went to go in to the wake, right? They had a wake before the funeral. And I went to go in. And when I tell you it was like a cartoon, I beelined so fast. People were like, what happened to Yamaneika? I was like, I had a panic attack like you never, because I was like, I don't want to see her. Like that.
Right.
Yeah, and it was like, but that was the thing I kept saying, I don't need to see her. And but black families, it's like,
oh, I know,
look at the pit, pull them up and dig them up and take pictures and this and that and let's play cards and listen. And I'm like, but so when they closed the casket, I walked in and I walked up, and I'm normally finicky around caskets and stuff like that. I just remember laying on the casket and hugging it, and my lipstick mark was still on the casket, and just like feeling like I'm not afraid of my grandmother. I just don't want to see her. Like, I don't want to remember her like that, because she was so alive.
But see, that's what the Jews do.
Yeah,
because you don't want that to be the last.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
I told my grandmother, because she's Catholic, so they do open caskets also, and she's still alive. And I straight up told her I'm not coming to the open casket.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's cool. Some people want to see it, though. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. She's like, okay, whatever. I was like, okay.
Yeah. She's
I'll
like,
be outside.
Don't put me in the ground already now. Like, do whatever you want. I ain't going to be there.
She was the one talking about it. She's kind of obsessed with death, like yours.
Well, if experience a black funeral before anything goes down to see how you can tell. I mean, and the thing about my grandmother's funeral is people know that I'm on TV and stuff. I think they were auditioning for me. It was almost like America's Last Dance.
Right.
I was like one of the ministers, because she was also a minister at the church that they brought her back to, and they got to, one of the ministers got to singing so hard, and I said, "Who do you think I'm Simon Cowell?" Like, he took the mic off and went through the crowd. So when I spoke,
did they do that normally?
Well, when people start to get jazzed, start to feel the Holy Ghost, they start dancing around and prancing around. And so I said, I said, give me a cordless mic too. I said, this is my grandma's funeral. Give me a cordless mic. Because I'm a dance and prance around too, motherfucker. Right. You ain't the only one dancing and prancing around.
That's right.
It's so great.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I dance and I prance around. I said, I'm also, because what pissed me off about my grandma's funeral is people were standing behind this big portrait of her and nobody could see him this way. I was like, just to let you guys know, staging, it's behind the cat. And it was a funny. People told beautiful stories. My grandma was so loving. Yeah. She would give her last dime. She had just turned 80.
Oh,
she would give her last dime. She donated to this and that. She's the only person I know would donate all bags and bags of clothes to Salvation Army and then turn around and go buy them all back because she was addicted to the Salvation Army in the dollar store.
Salvation Army anti-gay.
Okay. Are they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very bad.
They don't hire any homos.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So sad when they're
Let's get into it.
Fucking assholes. Anyway, Yamaneika, Nika, as we gaily walk along and sing this happy song. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah.
Hey.
All right. So you grew up in Maryland.
Yes.
Where in Maryland?
I was born in Baltimore, Maryland.
Can't believe you don't know the burger cookie.
I don't know the burger cookie. Maybe we call it something else.
I'm going to show it to you.
Show it to me.
Go ahead.
I was born in Baltimore, Maryland at Bon Secours Hospital.
Yes.
November 3rd.
Oh, I'm a Scorpio.
Yes, I know this about you.
Right,
See, you don't even.
Do you know how much sleep I had? Go fuck yourself. Go ahead. November 3rd.
Born November 3rd, and I was born in Baltimore, and then I was raised in Aberdeen, Maryland, right behind Aberdeen Proving Ground.
Oh yeah, I know where that is.
So it's getting a little hippie now,
right?
But it was dead there. Like there was nothing going on but the rent. And I went to school in Dublin, Maryland. I always went to either parochial or private school. And I moved to Los Angeles.
I know. What is that you went to? Were the public schools shitty?
You know, I know people don't understand. When they had upper middle class, I grew up in an upper middle class black community.
Right.
And I mean, that's what it was. The public schools were fine, but you know.
Now, I know I grew up in the 60s and so I went to college in 1980, but the upper class, middle class black communities were all black. You know, it was so segregated, even when you had education and money. Yeah. Was that the way it was with you guys?
I know the school. I my schooling was entirely
because
white.
you were the only black person in your school.
Yes.
But where you lived, was it all, did you live with?
No, it was pretty mixed. I mean, you know, I didn't really experience the context of race and racism until I stepped outside of my family bonds. We never lived like black or white or anything like that. We lived like fun people that were like getting down with anybody and having a good time.
That sounds great.
My first real racist experience was when I was six years old, and my grandmother used to give me money when we go shopping so I could feel like I was doing my own little shopping and stuff. And we had a little joint checking account, so I was writing checks at 6.
Oh, I love her.
And so my grandmother had given me some money from our account to go get an ice cream cone while she did some shopping down in the mall. And this is when you could let kids go and do like
you
now
can leave your
you
bicycle outside.
Yeah.
You know,
now you give a kid 6-year-old kid $20, they in Mexico gambling or selling their body parts. But she had given me money to go get an ice cream cone, and I remember I went in and there was it's funny enough, it was a Korean lady at the ice cream shop that I used to go to with my family. It was my first time going by myself, so I was so excited. I had my little purse, and I was very girly and dainty as a little girl, you know, just skipping around, and very mature. And I sat there, and this lady just kept doing her business. And then a young white couple had come in behind, and she waited on them. And I remember, not me, but I didn't even know. You know, I just knew she wasn't waiting on me. But I just thought, you know, I grew up to be very respectful of adults too, so it wasn't like hello. You know, I just
that's
waited
how I grew up too.
for her to acknowledge me. And the wife said, "Oh no, I think this little girl is in front of us." And the woman says, "No, she has no money." No, like that. And I remember going, "I have money." Sometimes I don't like to tell it because like I get so emotional about it because I remember how I felt. That was my first time experiencing that, and I said I remember just being so young and going, "I have money." And
God,
it was so that young white couple was like, "No, you're gonna give her ice cream cone." And I remember they said, "Tell her what you want." And they wouldn't let me pay for it. And they paid for it. They paid for it. And they walked me over to my grandmother, and they said, "You know, we just wanted to let you know we got her ice cream and just want to make sure she got back to you." And they didn't say anything to my grandmother about, you know, the thing. And it wasn't until I was so embarrassed to tell my grandmother because I still thought I had done something wrong. And it was it was very weird. And then I finally went to an all-white school, and then it stepped up so high that I was like, "Oh, that ice cream shit was easy."
Yeah, right.
The ice cream thing.
When did you end up telling your grandmother?
Maybe 2 years later, 2 or 3, because it came up in a like, you know how sometimes you don't remember, you don't tell people things, and then you kind of go, because she was a part of when all that, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember when," and she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you know, that's when," and she says, "Well, why didn't you say something to me?" And I just,
that's pretty smart for a 6-year-old to not say something.
I was very advanced. The thing is, I didn't speak the first couple of years I was on this earth.
But there's a lot of geniuses like that.
Yeah, I just didn't. They thought something was wrong with me, and I was very very selective. I was very selective about people. I was very in tune to people, and I would I used to do this thing where if I didn't like someone that was talking to my grandparents or my mother, I would just incorporate myself and stare at them. And they had to start telling me not to do that. Like I would just try to shut that person down. And it was just always the way that I was. But I'm very in tuned when I meet people, and I don't know if it's a Scorpio thing or not, but like I either like you and I don't, and I can't explain why I like you or I don't.
And you can't hide it.
And I can't hide it.
That's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
It's like if my face fucking tells it all. It's so bad.
Yeah.
It's horrible because, you know, whatever. Okay, so your mother was like an audio visual engineer? Is
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
Like, so when you were in Maryland, did she work on TV shows and shit?
She worked. So when my mother stopped college to have me, she had a whirlwind romance with my father.
Where
I'm
did she
sure
go to
they
college?
were Towson State.
Nice.
And she tried to get me to go to Towson State.
And you were like, go fuck yourself?
And I was like, if I step foot back in Maryland,
Right.
it'll never happen.
Yeah.
And then I wound up having to step foot back in Maryland.
Wait. Show her the burger cookie.
Okay.
Let me see.
BERGER.
Oh yeah.
What do people from Maryland call them?
But no,
they're
we
burger
don't
cookies.
have a name. We just I don't
They're
remember a
called
name for them, but
burger
we eat these
cookies.
all the time.
They look like
They're so
a black and white
fucking-
cookie.
Yeah, but they're
Yeah, but they're not. But it's a spongy kind of.
No, this is cakier.
That's why a sponge. What do you think a sponge is?
Shut the fuck up.
What the fuck you think a
What
sponge
are you
is?
fucking telling me? They're so good with the thick.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah,
You know how
we
I
eat
found
those
out about it? Because one of Ben's, like, I think his third
look
grade
good.
teacher or fourth grade teacher was from Baltimore, and she brought burger
Was she
cookies.
white?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a white thing. Maybe they call it because black people, we ain't got time to be naming shit. We just got to eat and go.
You go to Pollock
I
Hot
appreciate
Dogs,
that.
whatever the fuck it's called.
Pollock Johnny.
yeah, Pollock
on
Johnny.
Gay Street. On Gay Street.
On Gay Street?
We
Yeah.
were always on Gay Street, and this is funny thing. When I think about it as I'm old, I'm like, we were on Gay Street, and my grandmother would make us hustle out Bible tracts.
Really? No way.
That was worse than barking on the streets.
So is this-
for comedy? I'm telling
Yeah.
you, like, and she'd be like, and this is the thing: if you don't hustle them tracks and save them people, then people gonna go to hell because you didn't tell them about the
Right.
Lord. And I'd be like scared to
Yeah.
and nobody wants to hear the shit.
Right. But wait, is this Baptist? Or what is this?
Well, we were non-denominational, but
Oh,
my
all right.
grandmother was insistent on being very Baptist, very
Right.
like Holy Ghost,
Right.
slapping you down with the oil.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you come in with a dry hairdo, you leave with a Jerry curl.
Right.
I mean, like they were pushing you down in the
Wow.
ground. I remember
Right.
the time I had to speak in tongues.
Oh, yeah.
And and this is like when we were teenagers, and
Right.
you like, I remember In Living Color was on, and Martin, and they did a back to back where it
Oh,
was like
yeah.
Martin, then In Living Color, and so we'd be rushed. We would hate to do evening service because it meant we would miss one. So
Right.
I was like, if all I gotta do to get out of here is speak in tongues, let me.
Right.
And so I remember going humming and shumming and shumming and shumming
Yeah.
and shumming and shumming and dropping it down. They were like, "Oh, the baby's black." Like, yeah. And so I was like, I ain't missing Martin.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So humming and shumming and numbing hum
Yeah.
num.
Yeah.
Okay.
Damn, Gina.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Okay, so your mother's audio, whatever,
Yes,
engineering.
yes.
And
Audio
then-
video engineer, and she also worked for several radio stations across the country, top 40 stations.
Even when when you guys were in Baltimore or Aberdeen?
Yeah. So
Okay.
when she took a break from college and she had me and fell in love and all that, she went back to school. And she
What's your
worked-
father like?
My father's a charmer,
Really?
a ladies' man.
Right.
A douche.
No, my father is. I want to say this
A playboy,
as respectfully as I can because
Yeah.
I love my dad, but my dad, my goofy side is my dad. My
Right.
dad
Oh,
is
funny.
never grows up,
Right.
And is just, and my mother's very funny, but
Right.
she's very serious.
Right,
She can
right,
get
right.
serious and she can turn it on and turn it
Yeah,
off.
but that's a good combination to have.
I'm a
It
combination of
is.
both of them, so I have
I
that
agree.
whole
Right.
But
Okay, yeah.
my father was a very handsome guy. I mean, now he has to Photoshop his teeth in, but because what happens with these pretty boys is they be looking fine, and then they get older, and it's
Right.
like, oh my god, have you seen Albie Shore? He's got like
Yeah.
he looks like Lemony Snickets, and I'm like, what is going on? Because you can't be pretty forever.
And I tell my kids, you better fucking floss, you fucking idiots.
yeah, you have to be on top of it.
And All right. So then so you moved to LA, right? When you were like 14, 15?
I moved to LA when I was 15 and a half, going on 16.
Okay. And why did you move to LA?
I was not having a good time in school, and the options.
And when you were in school as the only black person, another black kid came in after you, right?
Yes.
And
There would be constantly, they come and they leave. They
'Cause
leave.
they
with
couldn't
the
handle
quickness.
it.
Yeah. The
But
only
you
one that
were-
stuck it out with me is Danielle. She was a grade behind me.
And you sort of took her under your wing.
Well, that was Denise I took under my wing.
Who did they all have D names?
They pretty much, I guess. I guess Denise, Danielle. There were some. So I was in the upper middle school, high school was together.
Right.
So there were like 2 or 3 little black girls that were like in elementary school. So I didn't have any connection with them.
Right.
I remember the first day that because we lived around Aberdeen Proving Ground, you had a lot of the military kids that would come in. So that would constantly change. But then it would be so crazy with the racism. These kids were like. Their families are like, why would we keep these kids here with this kind of we're gonna get these kids out of here. My family did not look at it the same way.
Right.
My grandmother, I went through a bout of depression at 12.
Ugh.
And I missed an entire week from school, and I told my grandmother I wasn't feeling well. And after that week, she says, I know there's nothing wrong with you. And whatever you're going through in that school, God has put you there for a reason.
Right.
And whatever that reason is, I'm not moved. I don't feel compelled to move you out of there. And we need to keep you there because you have a purpose. And once she said that to me, everything changed how I dealt. Right? How I dealt, because she gave me power. I was in control, right? So if there's a reason for me to be here and there's something that I need to learn, then I need to learn. It has nothing to do with anybody around me.
Right.
And then, I mean, even after that, things started. We had things like, you know, I had a very close friend of mine. I don't want to say it because I don't, for legal reasons, because it got really crazy.
Right.
His father killed his mother and then killed himself.
No
and then
fucking way.
Yes. And we were very close.
How old was he?
We were maybe 11.
No fucking way. Did he have any siblings?
He had cousins, so he had to go live with his cousins and his aunt and uncle.
Oh my God, that's the worst story ever.
And we were in percussion together, and we would play all the time. And my grandmother would take him home and all kind, like, you know, we were really close. And so after that, he had to move to another school, but he was still in Maryland. And I get called into the office one day, and they asked me if I had any connection with Chris. Okay, you know, whatever. I don't want to say that. But they asked me if I had any connection with him.
Pollock Johnny. Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, no, I hadn't seen him, you know, since everything. And they said, well, he says he's going to kill you.
What?
Why?
Because he had become a skinhead.
Damn. Oh, no.
No way. Because he moved with the cousins? Or was
I don't
it
think the family was. I just think he got into that.
Right, he had no identity.
That row,
yeah.
And they were concerned, whether it was idle threats or whatever. It had been some chit chat that was going on, and then I had that conversation.
And you're 11?
Yeah, I had that conversation with my principal. Like, there was no, like, let's call your
was
parents.
Anyone else in there?
No, they
what
just
the
told
fuck is
me
wrong with
anything.
People?
This is just what happened, right? And so I had to go back and I had to tell my grandmother that I was scared to go to school. And
okay,
so when people ask me what they go, oh, you talk about race a lot and everything is race. It's like, you don't understand.
That's my identity, fuckface.
Yeah.
You know what? It's because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with it.
But
that's
I had
what
to
I
deal
get
with
shit like that
very
all the time.
early.
Yeah.
That people don't understand. I lost my innocence with all this sugarcoating shit at an early age.
So did you ever come in contact with that kid?
I didn't, thank God. But that wasn't the only incident.
Did you ever look him up on Facebook or anything?
No, we didn't have technology like that.
No,
during that
I mean
time.
now.
Right. No.
Any interest in?
No.
Wow. That's fucking scary. So then did you go home and tell your parent? Well, your grandmother and your mother and your grandpa?
You know, obviously everybody's concerned and they want to know where he is. I mean, I think it was as irresponsible as I think it was for my principal to have that conversation with me as a kid in the office, just him and I.
Yeah,
they did. Sure. It was like people, they investigated and people knew because it was conversation that had been heard from other children that he was saying that and this was going down. So they didn't take it lightly, but it was sort of like, if you still have any connection with him, you might want to lose it. You know,
right?
That was
warning.
The warning, right?
But
that
he
was
probably was like, you were the closest thing to him when that happened, and that's probably why he was like,
there's layers here. That is so fucked up, and that is one of the scariest things I've ever heard.
And you're 11? Did you even fucking sleep? Yeah. I mean, I would have never slept.
But you know, the weird thing about my family is my grandmother was, by this time, she was so and I want to say this, and not to say that I don't believe in the power of prayer. There was such an innocence to me that's not here. Like now, because I have seen so many things where it's like God was so physical to me that I was like, God's gonna protect me. Like there was no fear, because it's like, well, God's here. He's right here, and he's something that's going to appear. Like he's going to quantum leap in front of me if something happens. So I never, while I was concerned and I was kind of like uncomfortable, I'm like, there's no way that he's going to do anything to me, because God's just not going to allow it, and I have a purpose and a call on my life. So that's why when people get involved in religion and they're very into their religion and they believe all of that, they do these things that we look at and go, how could you do that? That, or and somebody said, I heard a voice, kill all these people. You believe that thing. And other people on the outside going, what are you, it's like Beautiful Mind, when he has this whole world, spoiler alert. And then when you finally see it.
No one's seen that movie, so it's good.
when they peel back the layers, you go, oh, this motherfucker the whole time, none of these people we saw were real. You know what I mean? So that's sort of like was my life.
So you moved to California. Did your mother move for a job, or just to get the fuck out of there?
This is where the part of the story happens where my grandmother is my mother and my grandfather is my father.
Okay.
Because my mother is very talented. She's one of the reasons why I'm in comedy. She's always like, she has something in her mind, she's going to do it, she's going to do it, and I'm constantly telling my mother, because as you get older as a woman, I think you lose confidence, right? And not to say that my mother doesn't have any confidence, but I think as you get older and the world starts telling you, you go, no. And I tell my mother all the time, like, even last night when she saw me on Jimmy and she's like, oh my God, I would have been like this. I'm like, no, you wouldn't. I'm like, the reason why I'm so fearless and I do the things that I do is because I'm mimicking what I saw you do, right? I saw you being a fearless woman, so don't tell me you would have done that.
And it's not about her,
right? But it's not. But what she's saying to me is, she's saying like, wow, my daughter did this amazing thing, and I'm like, I didn't do this amazing thing out of nowhere. You're my mother, who I watched do amazing things. And now I'm doing fearless shit.
You know what my mother said to me when I did the first time I did the Tonight Show? Okay, ready? This is the message I get. So, I watched. They have, how many commercials? They had so many commercials. I don't understand it. It was very good, but and I was like, it's like I can't even get like. She's like, oh, there's so many. You gotta wait. It was on at the end, and I was like, okay, thanks. Let me go fucking take some more antidepressants. Okay. All right.
I totally get that.
Jude, it's very good, but the amount of commercials they have.
Can you talk to them about that?
And it's always like, I stayed up late. I sacrificed for you. All right, so go ahead.
I understand that. My grandmother used to say to me, when I did Last Common Stand, she's like, you keep talking about underneath your clothes. Because she won't say like vagina or
right.
That's so
don't
funny.
And people and they're gonna look back at me and go, where was she raised? Who raised her?
It's always about them, isn't it?
My grandmother told me one time, we were at Golden Corral. They love Golden Corral because they ain't shit to do in Maryland. I love Maryland, but they ain't shit. You get dressed up to go to Walmart and Golden Corral.
Right.
And we're putting our stuff on the plate and everything. And my grandmother said, and it was around my birthday, and she said, oh my God, I told the Lord the other day, I said, thank God she made it. Thank God she made it. And I said, what do you mean, thank God I made it? Well, you could have been dead. And I remember I said it to her, I was just like this. I said, Grandma, I didn't grow up a black boy.
Exactly, and I'm not driving a car.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You really thought I could have been dead for what? I'm not even in gang. You like I'm in gangs. I'm running the street. I'm pretty.
She's also obsessed with death a little bit. It sounds like.
Well, she was. Yeah, she was.
She's
definitely.
Like, I picked out your coffin stuff just in case, but I'm glad you're.
Okay.
They love a good funeral.
So
and a mortuary picture.
All right.
When they rustled my great grandmother up to take a picture in front of the tombstone where her husband was laying, that had her first name and her date of birth already carved in, but not the date of death.
That is mental. Okay, So you go to,
and she just sitting there grinning and cheesing. I'm like, does she even know what the fuck is going on? Because this is a before and after picture happening here.
Oh yeah, she knows exactly what's going on. It sounds like
all the kids are around her wearing white. I'm like, is he dead now?
Yeah,
she's hysterical.
Okay, so how old were you
but
when
she
you
won't say penis? Sorry. Okay.
Underneath your clothes.
Yeah. Okay, VP.
Sorry, Grandma's
That's
hilarious.
voice probation. That's shut the fuck up. No, to him, not you. Wait. So, when did your grandparents become ministers?
So my grandparents owned a nightclub called Strawberry Hill. And my mother DJ'd, my uncle was the bouncer, and my aunt and my grandmother were behind the bar. And
did you hang out there?
I was up in the attic being babysat by my irresponsible cousin who was barely paying. The amount of
How
times
old were you?
I was a baby until I could crawl and walk. The amount of times I would make it downstairs and the baby like there's a baby on the dance floor because whoever was watching me be on the phone, not paying attention, and I was like, I was
it called?
Strawberry Hill. And I would be in the bar. They got a lot of citations because we were a family. We went together, and they would do. My mother would talk about. They would do a caravan at night,
right,
with the money and go and all that stuff, and they would have like 3 different cars and stuff, and everybody had to carry a piece. And my mother talks about having a gun pull out on her and trying to, and they ride.
Yeah,
and my grandfather had to pull a gun.
The nightclubs.
It was like crazy. Yeah,
because they
like
dealt
nuts.
in cash, and then they had to go deposit it immediately in those deposit things.
They found their thrill.
Yeah,
so
on Strawberry Hill. Okay, sorry.
VP, me.
I'm VP too.
So fucking annoying. So wait. So what was it packed all the time?
Yeah, it was. Let me tell you something. My grandparents, my family in general, we did everything to the extreme. We party hard, which is why when I'm on stage, I like to party and have a good time. I come from a party. I'm a late night person. I like to do all of that.
What kind of music did they play?
Everything, whatever was happening in the 80s, and like maybe some Earth, Wind and Fire, and like all that, and Parliament Funkadelics and all of that, and
Michael Jackson
and Michael Jackson. They was just like my mother DJ'd, and she scratched and she did a thing, and her name was Mickey Moore, and they used to call her Eminem.
Eminem.
Mickey
Moore.
Yeah, Mickey Moore. And out here, and my mother hates that I didn't pick up any ear quality from her.
Right.
Because she's the type of person you get in a car with her, and she's like, when I used to drive her around places and stuff, she'd be like, is this how you're rating this? Fix this. And I'm like, nobody knows audio like you do. Like, I don't know. There's a bass is up too high to treble that. I'm like, Mom, just do whatever you want. I don't care.
Sound engineers are the most annoying people. They're like, do you hear something? No, nobody does. It's you. You hear everything.
Actually, you're the most annoying person ever. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
I won't take it to heart. I won't take it to heart.
Thank you. I'm the host. Go ahead.
I love you too. Come on.
You are the host.
All right. So they become ministers after were they religious when they were doing the
they grew up in the South. They grew up in the South, so they were, they had that background.
Right.
My father's mother, who would watch me from time to time, she was very, very religious. So when I would be with her on Sundays, I'd go to church, and then I got interested in wanting to do more activities at the church.
Right.
And I decided I wanted to join the usher board. So we had a big thing where everybody came out to see me usher for the first time.
Oh my God, I love that. What'd you wear?
You had a white uniform, and the only thing we would change is like our hats. We would have like these little like, those like little army hats that kind of like pill with like little thing like that, and then we have our gloves, and those would change color. So we would have our burgundy, or we have our gold.
Oh, that's so great.
We have green, and so the day when I started mine, I think it was burgundy. And so I had my I had to remember. I was so excited about.
What was the name of the church?
Christian Memorial Church in Baltimore on North Avenue, and I brushed my hair back in a bun, and I felt so grown because I got to use bobby pins to pin it into my hat to my head, and I was just, and we would march, and we do like the ushers had their own time doing offering after everybody put their offering in. We would march around. We put one arm behind, and we just marching like that.
And
they put the little kids up front, so you be front and you just be marching and stuff. So so my grandparents, my mother's parents, came to see me, and when they came to see me this day, and this is my grandfather preaches about this a lot. he was actively still doing the nightclub, a heavy drinker,
Right.
but not abusive, not like alcohol, but always like Ned got the beer. We had a Winnebago when we go down go down south. He would have all the liquor, and they couldn't wait, and they popping coolers and this and that.
Right.
And he said he heard the voice of the Lord while he was in church, and he said God told him he's not going to drink again and he's going to be in the ministry. That's what he heard. And he told my grandmother that. And my grandmother, he preaches because he said, I think it's Sarah in the Bible laughed when God told her that she would have a child because she was
99. She was 99.
He preaches that message about my grandmother because when he turned and said that to her, she laughed and said, well, you getting over, you doing this too quick. Right. We just came for one thing and all of a sudden you know, and so
we're still hungover.
Right, but basically. And my grandfather was in a motorcycle gang. Like they was about it, you know. And so she was like, no, and he never picked up a drink after that.
Wow.
Never. He went to the altar when they did the altar call for salvation. He went there. They went down. They prayed. Never had a drink after. And we were watching him
like, oh, this is boring.
No, my grandmother, and my grandfather had known each other since they were like 5 or 6 years old. They were pretty much kind of destined to be together. And my grandmother was a very supportive wife, and she loved her husband. And my grandmother was always had that spiritual tone. So I think she was just ready for him to kind of get his shit together and come on board. So we just had alcohol in the house that wasn't touched. And I remember I got a Snoopy snow cone machine one Christmas, and I ran out of the liquid.
So you put the alcohol
I put the alcohol, and what was happening, the kids were in the neighborhood was drunk and they were trying to figure out who was giving, and it didn't dawn on me that this is alcohol, right? It's just like, oh, this is more stuff I can put in until we get more packets from Toys R Us, like that's
right.
Oh my God. This mother's knocking around trying to figure like what kid, and so I'm sitting there still churning up stuff and doing my thing, and my grandfather said, what are you putting in these snow cones? Cause ain't you out of like liquid and stuff? And I said, yeah. I said I went and got the stuff down in the basement. I'm like, I put all like your juices and stuff in it. He's like, fool. And so it was like he had to talk. My grandfather said because it was so obvious to him that I didn't get it. As much as smart as I was, I had a lot of like dunderhead moments where I was just walking into shit. Like they thought I was running away from home a lot. Like I wouldn't be. They would check on me at night and I wouldn't be in my bed. And so my grandfather did this thing where he was trying to he would be by my door. He was by my door one night to hear like if I was moving around, and he heard me moving out. And what I would do is I would go. The roof was connected to my room, and I would walk out onto the roof and I would read books by the moonlight. And so he was like, we thought, you fool, we thought you was out here getting your groove on
and getting the neighborhood drunk,
and you out here reading books by the moonlight. Like I was such a goofball. But I was always doing stupid shit. But like
that's an adventurous innocence.
Innocently, I would be doing.
Okay, you're talking too much now. Okay, so then why do you move to LA? This is all
boring for you.
This
is not
Shut
boring.
The fuck up. Is this boring, Seth?
No, I have young children. I don't sleep. Yeah. I haven't slept in days either. I feel for you.
Oh well. Yeah. Great. You have a great audience, Yamaneika,
but
I promise you it's not boring. I have slept,
I know.
and the audience is thoroughly enjoying
it.
But
I am following it, and I am interested. It's good. It's not.
Shut up.
Yeah, but despite you, I mean, Hennessy's really carrying this show, this episode.
Are you kidding?
Kinda.
Okay. Listen, you fucking asshole. All right. So then, why'd you move to LA?
So the final year that I was at Hartford Christian, this is the school I went to.
Yeah, me too.
You went to Hartford Christian?
I'm a Jew.
Oh, right. You see how stupid? Like sometimes I go, I'm so naive. I believe everything that people say to me. As rough as people think I am, I'm like, oh, really? Yeah. The final year that I was at Hartford Christian, there was we shared lockers. This is like 10th grade,
right?
And I shared with this other boy. I can say his name because it was no criminal thing. Joe Thibodeau, who was like 1,000 pounds, and he would leave all his lunch.
Joe Thibodeau,
and he would leave his lunches.
Look him up on Facebook,
at the top.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I never thought about looking his fat ass up. But whatever. He was. He was bullied a lot, so I kind of was like friends with him too. Right. But he got on my nerves. And we shared locker, and he had all his stuff, and he would leave all these like sandwiches and stuff, and I would be like, come on, Joe, like come eat this shit, like like. I mean, I wouldn't say shit, but you know. And so one day, I went to my locker and somebody had spray painted nigger on my locker. And I remember, this is so funny because I was like, and everybody's like, and I said, "Oh my God, Joe, look what they did to you." I was like, "Why would they say that to you?" I started taking all this stuff and just like going, "What the? Who gives a fuck?" It's so stupid. And
that's a hack.
When it came out that all this stuff had happened and who was connected, I won't say, because then they'll be like, because I've said to school, they'll be like, "Well, you said I did," but when it came back that it was somebody on staff's child that had done that with some other kids.
No way.
And that at the same time, they decided it was okay for them to wear these black jackets that they had sewn the Confederate flag on.
What the fuck?
Everybody was like, yeah, here's your options. You can go to a boarding school in Troy, New York, which was a Christian boarding school, and I wasn't happy about doing that because it was like, can't have posters up, you can't, and I didn't want to be away from my family.
That shit,
Or my mother said, you know, I was very much into theater, and I was doing theater workshops and stuff on the side outside of school, and drama and things, and she said, you know, you can try to go to LaGuardia in New York and we can see what relative lives out there and see if you can get in. Or I think that there might be a school like LaGuardia in LA, and my mother was living in LA at the time. Right. And you can come out here and live with me. And so they had a Los Angeles County High School for the Arts. Right. And this was a 3-year program. So they had sophomore, junior, and senior. But it was hard to get in as a junior, and it's impossible to get in as a senior because they want you to go through the training. Right. So they had a final audition. It's like my fucking life is a movie. And it's like, I don't know, God tests me all the time because I'm always in like the worst disaster, and then somehow miraculously I make it through. It's like every day is a Lifetime episode. But they had the final audition for theater. They had about 300 kids that were auditioning for one slot. What? One slot. And I was coming in as a junior, and I was coming from parochial school. So when I remember having I did Search for Signs of Intelligent Life in the Universe.
That was the first opening monologue.
No, of course not. I was upset. So I had that, and then I did a monologue from Raising in the Sun just to be versatile. Even at that age, I knew give them a little bit of show. Yeah. So
good for you.
I went in with my pieces. And I remember that they brought kids in, I think, by like 10s. Right. So they would get you from the big group, and they would bring you from 10s, and they would line us up in the hallway, and as somebody was about to go in, they were saying stuff, and I didn't know what was the conversation was being said. But when I got up to the front of the line, it was like, okay, so you're gonna go in and you're gonna do your monologues, and then they're gonna speak to you. Just a note: there's a teacher in there that has his eye. He's cockeyed. He has an eye that looks like he's not looking at you, but he's looking at you. So don't let that bother you, because some people have gotten uncomfortable and whatever. Right. So I went in and I did the pieces and everything, and so they started grilling me about my school. They were like, well, how are you going to be comfortable doing roles that are like, because you have a very Christian background, and you took Bible 1 and Bible 2, like we have Bible classes,
Hello, it's a Christian school, you fucking idiot.
But they're also like, to them, that's a waste of time when I could have been taking something else. And they, because we also have to take high school curriculum there. So it's like, and how are you going to fit in and the whole thing? And I remember I had this little mushroom. This little mushroom top and this like churchy dress, so I look like Anna Green Gables, plus size, and then fat Anna Green Gables. And I said no. I said I'll be fine. I said I think I can. I love theater, and I'm interested in like owning a theater one day. And I was just so excited about that world, and it was so open for me to do whatever I want and play. And of course they ask you, do you have any questions after? And I said, I don't have any questions. I said, but I just want to say, as the only black teacher in here, you didn't look at me one time and it was like I was giving you, I thought I was doing well, and it was like you just were kind of dismissive, and I have no fucking idea why I said that.
The cockeyed
that was the cockeyed guy, and I have to this day I cannot tell you. It's the same thing that came over me in that moment is the same thing that comes over me on stage when I dig into somebody's ass. I say to myself, don't say this to the person, and then I just say it. And I don't have no idea why I would even think to challenge him.
Why the fuck didn't you?
Well, I say why the fuck, but I just felt like as the only the only black teacher in here, and you kind kind of were dismissive to me. You didn't really look at me. And I wanted to know, is it something that I did? And he said, I am looking at you, as he was looking this way. And I said, I forgot.
Just like that.
And I was dead. And I remember
my God.
And they just sat there and they looked at me and they said, okay, well, there's no more questions. We'll let you know. You should know in a couple of weeks. And I walked out. My mother, when I came, she was like, I know you did, my baby. My baby, you did it. You're a star.
Right.
And I was like, yeah. And I was so uncomfortable the rest of my time with my mother in LA because I was like,
tell her?
I didn't tell her anything. Are you crazy? I was like, there's one slot for 300 kids.
God.
The
And
chances
you're like,
that I'm
why
going to get
did
it
you
is
look at me,
zero
you fucking
anyway.
asshole?
But she just knew her baby. And I
Right.
said, absolutely. And myself, I'm like, no. But I'm like, yeah, Mom's like, well, it's 300 slots and, we'll see. And I kid you not, the day that we had heard nothing, and I wasn't expecting anything, so I was packing my shit to go back up to Maryland and deal with this bullshit of like now having to go to this boarding school because I ain't going back to Hartford Christian, Yeah. And so we're going, and my mother says, and she's taking me to the airport because we hadn't heard anything. My mother's still, I'm like, wait, we never know. I'm gonna follow up with them on Monday and see what's going on. And then I bet you, I'm telling you, gonna come back and we gonna live here. And I said, whatever. And my mom said, let me check the mail. And I'm before I take it to them. And my fucking acceptance letter was in there.
No way!
I kid you not. And then my first day, I go in and the teacher was Mr. Butler. And I went in and I would
one?
Yeah. And I didn't want to look at him at all. I was like, whatever, like I'm trying to act like whatever. And and we were he did voice and diction and he did stage movement, right? So it was a lot of movement and it was a lot of like ways I could like not look at him. And so he pulls me to the side and he says, you know what? He says, Miss Saunders, come here, I want to talk to you for a second. And so I was like, fuck, like this guy's gonna like, is he gonna kick me out now? And then I have to tell my mother
Like,
the story the whole day. Like, what are you doing? How'd you get here? And I said, I'm so sorry again, like, and thank you, and I'm so humble and thank you. He said, you know what? He said, we only had one slot for 300 kids that we saw over 300 kids that day. And he said, you know why you stood out? Because you were the only one that fought for what you thought was great performances and said something. And we were like, wow, this kid's really gutsy and she really believes in herself. And I was like, oh, wow. Wow, that's really great because I wasn't gutsy. Like I did that despite myself and it wasn't some premeditated diva move. It was just something that happened and it was just so beautiful that had kind of come together that way.
I love that.
Acting teachers are so good at seeing through your soul,
Oh,
like,
God. Some of them are just doing it because they're fucking mental.
That's true, but the school she went to is like
no. You went to a great school, but I'm just saying there are
moments.
acting teachers
they had a couple of scandals that happened on some shit.
Yeah, can you shut up?
It's
VP.
Tis a season for scandal.
No, but I'm just saying.
We had this exercise called 4-on-1 that got a little dicey sometimes. You ever did 4-on-1?
Some of the
Sounds
what
like
is
a
it?
movie I saw.
It's you lie down and you have somebody people take a part of your body. It's a way for you to be comfortable and relaxed.
Oh, sure.
So you have to completely give and it's about not giggling and not being squirmy.
Right.
And then I think I allegedly there was some things that maybe went beyond in other aspects of taking that to another thing. Right. But my time there was
mean under
pure.
Your clothes?
My time was very pure and genuine there, and I went crazy when I went there because that was my first time of real freedom, and I was doing everything. I was wearing all this crazy makeup and got real punk and then went emo, and like they used to call me Pebbles because I would like fro my hair up and then have this little thing here, and like I went nuts. And I was very creative, and I was with people who were creative and did not give a fuck. And that's why when I'm on stage, it's like I'm so grateful for my theater background, because it's like when I tell you I was working with kids who would completely drain their who they were and be very vulnerable, and we would be so vulnerable and raw and open with people, and that's how we loved each other so much because of that. And it was such a different thing from me being tied up and being judged because of the color of my skin and having all these insults.
Were there a lot of other people of color in the school?
It was a lot. It was, and let me tell you something. We had high school classes there, so we had Professor Fonseca, who was great to me, and one of my counselors there got me into one of these English classes there, and I was very narrow and conservative in my mind, and I would say things that were so restrictive that I was saying stuff that, you know, I was like, don't eat meat, you know, you have to eat meat. And then people were like vegetarian. I'm like, you have to eat meat. God's telling you have to eat meat. You have to. It was so many things. And so I would also have like my little friends that I talked to. So my teacher at the time told me, he says, I'm going to separate you from your friends, because we were kind of divided in our class from side to side, and he put me over with all the LGBT, and all the vegetarians, and don't do the, and like the earthy, and this, and I was no shaving, so far from them, like hairy mentally armpits, that once I got into that space and I realized, I'm like, wow, my mind's really narrow, and I opened up to that. That's what keeps me, when people ask me and they say you're a Christian but you have friends who are gay and lesbian, I'm like, I cannot imagine closing myself off to loving people and getting involved in all that.
But do you feel like we need to be saved?
As a people, I think everybody needs to be saved. But that's everybody.
No, as LGBTQ or STUVs.
I know LGBTQ Christians.
Yeah, but
I think everybody needs to be saved that don't believe in the Lord.
Right. Oh, okay. So, like, if you see an atheist, what do you think?
They better believe in the Lord. So you're asking me in the context, do I say to you, your God's never going to love you, never going to make it to heaven because you're lesbian or you're gay? I'm never going to say that.
Right.
Do I come from a church that says that, and do I understand that's what's being said? Absolutely. Right. But I know a lot of different layers of Christians who will say, I hate you because you're lesbian and gay.
But that's so unchristian.
Sure.
To hate.
But I think here's the frustration for me, because I feel like I'm in the middle, right? I feel like there's a lot of friends of mine.
It's because you see both sides.
Right, I see both sides. I understand both sides, but I think that there's a lot of extremes on both sides. And I think that for me, when I talk to a friend of mine who's LGBTQ and STUVW through Z,
ABCD,
and they say to me, I can't have a relationship with God because he hates me. And I say, who told you that?
Right.
And they say, well, that's what they say over there. I said, but have you talked to God for yourself?
Right.
I don't believe in being a mouthpiece for God, because God talks to me, and I feel him and he speaks to me. So who am I to tell somebody what God said?
Right. I mean, I'm a practicing
Buddha called
Jew.
it samsara, the Holy Spirit.
Okay. Here's an example where I'm having a fucking connection and you go on to fucking Buddha shit, okay?
It was the same. I'm talking about the same thing.
I understand, but what I'm talking about is that it's called Kill Me Now with Judy Gold.
It is.
And Judy Gold was about to say something to Yamaneika, and you go off on, this is what the Buddha says. Okay, save it. Anyway, VP.
It's a VP!
So,
I live in a city. Sorry.
But no, I'm just saying, as a practicing Jew, like I'm a Jew, and you know, there are so many people who are LGBTQ or STV who feel like they can't be Jewish, and you know, LGBT, you know, like, I mean, it's really sad because you can be who you fucking are.
The problem for me comes in when people tell me that I'm not bearing a witness of God and Christianity because I'm allowing my LGBTQ friends to be LGBTQ.
What do we? Yeah.
Right.
Like Jesus.
And what I've said 1,000 times is don't tell me what I'm doing.
Right.
Number one.
Worry about yourself.
Worry about yourself. And I always worry about me. I want people to love, selfishly, I want people to love Jesus and have a connection with him. And I believe that if you believe that he is the way and the truth and the light, you will be saved. All this other stuff that people are bringing in and qualifiers don't concern me. That's between you and God. And if everybody minds their business, I know, but you and I
mentioned Jesus.
But you and I have a different, this is religion to religion now, right? This is not whether you're gay, straight, or all this other stuff.
But I don't believe. I mean, I believe Jesus existed and he was a prophet,
right?
And, a teacher, and but I don't believe he was the Messiah. I mean, that's what we don't.
But so our argument would have nothing to do with whether you were lesbian or gay,
right?
At all.
I'm just saying that. Do you feel like Jews?
Oh, you trying to get me to kill my career? Absolutely not. Jews can do whatever the fuck they want to do. Them, the gays, and now women. Me too, girl. Me too. Hashtag Jews.
See, Jews are exempt because they're already the chosen people.
Right.
By God. So
that's what they told you, but let's really start digging in Leviticus. Look at how serious Judy got. You take it very serious. Your eyes got so wide.
You know what? I get really upset because anti-Semitism is so prevalent right now, and it's so you talk about growing up as the only black. I mean, we got to my town, which was so racist and so anti-Semitic. Like, we had swastikas on our house when we moved there. They had a KKK. It's just, and my mother was always like, they hate us. Everyone hates us. They all hate us. Everyone hates us. And I was like, Ma, let me just do a couple Jew bells. No, they don't. No, they don't. And they do. They do. It's so fucking, and now it's like even worse than ever.
Yeah. I always say that black issues are very important to me because I'm black and I have to navigate through this world as a black person. So when white people hear my act or hear something when I say, and it goes, oh, this race thing, it's easy for them to say, oh, this race thing, because they don't have to deal with it walking and navigating.
It's your truth.
It's my truth. But I do say
or
that
your truth.
Sometimes I have to remind myself, think about, while I'm still doing my thing, let's think about the other people who are having problems and stuff, because you can get very into your own little thing.
Really? I've never noticed that.
You can forget
I was being sarcastic.
Big worlds here.
Yeah,
no,
I
understand.
know.
I understand that.
No, but see, because I'll get people in interviews. This is so fucking annoying. That'll be like, are you more Jewish or are you more gay? I'm like, what the fuck kind of question is that? Gay is who I love.
Yeah,
I am a Jew.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Faith to faith, and people try to mingle all those things together
because they can't. Their brain doesn't. They can't figure it out. Okay.
Don't forget to tune in next week to Just Kill Me Now.
It's Just Kill Me.
Oh, don't forget to turn for part 2 on Just Kill Me.
No, it's not. It's
Just Kill Me.
No.
Judy Gold's Just Kill Me.
Kill me now.
Just kill me now.